The Coen Brothers are regarded as one of the greatest American filmmaking teams in modern times. Fargo, The Big Lebowski, Raising Arizona, and Miller's Crossing, just to name a handful under their belt, they've more than earned the accolades and praise thrown their way these last few decades. But it's easy to forget they had a bit of a rough patch in the early 2000s. After the box office success of Oh Brother Where Art Thou, the Coens went on a streak of releasing 3 films that at the time earned uneven reviews and unexceptional grosses. 2001 saw them unveil The Man Who Wasn't There, which is a moody, bleakly funny film noir that has plenty of admirers, but is admittedly an acquired taste without broad appeal. 2003's Intolerable Cruelty is an old-fashioned screwball comedy starring George Clooney and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who at the time were 2 of the hottest names in movies. It too failed to measure up to the lofty expectations the Coens bring with each of their features, seemingly content to be a goofy distraction and not much else. They followed that up with a remake of The Lady Killers starring Tom Hanks, another screwy lark that felt oddly uninspired for the duo. The film failed to get much love, critically or commercially, and is sometimes regarded as the pair's weakest effort. So it goes that the Coens were, whether or not they cared to admit it, in need of something of a career rejuvenation. They tried mightily to adapt the James Dickey novel To the White Sea, an action epic set in Japan during World War II, but even with Brad Pitt attached to star, they could not get enough financing for the film, eventually giving up. The book's dark subject matter and lack of quirky antics certainly appealed to the directors, who had made a series of comedic films in a row, and as fate would have it, they'd get another chance to indulge their darker side with No Country for Old Men, a violent crime thriller written by one of the greatest American novelists of all time, Cormac McCarthy. The legend goes that McCarthy himself had originally envisioned No Country as a film, even writing a screenplay first and sending it out to Hollywood. When no one bit, he decided to write it as a novel, his preferred medium. While frequently a meditation on some pretty big themes, good and evil, life and death, the loss of morality in an ever-changing world, McCarthy's story has pulpier elements that make it a natural for the big screen. Gunfights, chases, a bag filled with stolen money, drug deals gone wrong, and most importantly, an unthinkable villain no one would soon forget. Before the book was even published in 2005, mega producer Scott Rudin bought the rights to the novel, seeing the potential for a project that would be critically and commercially accepted. He sent an advance copy to the Coens, thinking they were right for the job of adapting it. Rudin thought correctly, as the brothers gravitated to the tale's twisty narrative and its subversions of genre tropes. Joel Coen is quoted as saying, "We liked the fact that the bad guys never really met the good guys, that McCarthy did not follow through on formula expectations."
It was begging to be made into a movie.
It read like a treatment for a screenplay, to me, but a screenplay for a very good movie. It was unlike anything Cormac has written before.
It was the first official adaptation for the writer-directors, who figured, why not start with Cormac? Why not start with the best? When others wondered why do it? They were already admirers of the novelist, with the pulpier aspects of No Country intriguing them as much as the more philosophical elements. Adapting the novel turned out to be fairly easy for the two, with Ethan joking, quote, "One of us types into the computer while the other holds the spine of the book open flat." Indeed, most of the tough work was deciding what to leave out. Ultimately, as Joel said, it really is just compression. We didn't create new situations. The film was to be a co-production between Miramax Films and Paramount Vantage, with shooting to take place in New Mexico and Texas. Ironically, Miramax and Paramount Vantage had another future awards contender filming in Texas at the same time, Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood, which was shooting so close sometimes the filmmakers could see each other's sets. But before filming could commence, the all-important process of casting the film had to be done. The film is anchored by not one but 3 main characters. Ed Tom Bell, a weathered old sheriff who grows wearier by the day as the violence he sees is less and less explainable. Lewin Moss, a Vietnam vet who is unfortunate enough to find $2 million in the aftermath of a drug deal gone sour. And Anton Chiguhr, an emotionless hitman who's been tasked with recovering the missing money. For the Coens, casting the sheriff was a no-brainer. Tommy Lee Jones, who actually grew up in the region of Texas where the Moss character lives, and for all the world looks like a tired man beaten down by seeing way too much during his time. The role of Anton Chiguhr was offered to Javier Bardem, at that point still best known for his Spanish language pictures, but still an up-and-coming star in America. Ironically, Bardem later stated he had always wanted to work with the Coens, but never thought he'd get the chance because of his thick accent. When the opportunity to play the character came up, he couldn't resist, although scheduling conflicts almost kept him from being able to do it. Another actor who wasn't exactly a household name at the time almost swooped in to nab the role. Mark Strong, of course now well known for plenty of villainous turns. Strong would state that he'd heard the Coens had only seen a handful of people for the role, and at the very end of it was between him and Bardem, with Bardem's scheduling conflicts potentially opening the door for the British actor. It even got so close that Strong received a phone call from the production that essentially told him to pack his bags and go to New Mexico for 5 months. Alas, Bardem's scheduling cleared up and Strong never got the role. Imagine how different film history might be if that casting had worked out. 3 things Bardem said to the brothers that made him even more appealing to them.
Well, it's interesting because Javier, when we first met him, told us, "You have the perfect person in me for this part because I don't speak English, I hate guns, and I don't drive."
For whatever reason, that worked for them when it came to the strange, enigmatic Chiguhr, who would go on to be considered one of the most convincing sociopaths ever portrayed in a film, thanks to his lack of remorse, empathy, or guilt. Another major what if. The role of the good old boy Moss. The Coens were not certain who they wanted to play the role, but knew it had to be a strong character actor who could measure up with the likes of Jones and Bardem. One potential choice was Heath Ledger, who just won plenty of acclaim for Brokeback Mountain, in which he played a laconic but headstrong cowboy, so he would certainly fit Moss to a T. But Ledger ultimately passed on the role because he didn't want to work at the time and presumably wanted to spend more time with his wife and child. So the Coens found themselves in the midst of an exhaustive search to find their Moss. One actor who was quite determined to get the part was character actor Garrett Dillahunt, who reportedly auditioned numerous times for the Coens. Ultimately not getting the role, Dillahunt had to be satisfied with the supporting role of Sheriff Bell's trusty deputy. Josh Brolin wanted the role. At the time, he was in something of a career slump himself, but he was in the middle of shooting Planet Terror with Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, and saw an opportunity to shoot a solid audition, asking Rodriguez if he could borrow the camera they were using to shoot himself reading for the part. Rodriguez offered him one better. He would shoot the audition while Tarantino directed Brolin, and actress Marley Shelton read the lines of Moss's wife, Carla Jean. Brolin sent off the audition tape, presumably one of the coolest ever filmed, to the Coens, who, true to their nature, were more impressed by the filmmaking than the performance.
My audition tape was filmed by Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez during lunch. When it was sent to Joel and Ethan, their only comment was, "Who lit it?"
That led a determined Brolin to track down the brothers and audition for them in person. This time, they were suitably impressed and knew they had found their third leading man. One slight pitfall almost sidelined Brolin's dream of being in the movie, and even his mortality. 2 days after being cast, Brolin was driving his motorcycle when he got into an accident. He T-boned a car and found himself flying through the air, thinking, quote, "Holy shit, I really wanted to work with the Coens." Luckily, he survived. But when you see Moss's arm appearing injured or in a sling, that's not just convenient for the film, that was Brolin actually nursing a busted arm. It certainly made the scene where he jumped into the river to avoid the cartel a challenge. When it came to Bardem's iconic hairstyle in the movie, the Coens supposedly based that on a 1979 photo of a brothel patron they saw. They thought it was funny and creepy at the same time, adding to the character's almost otherworldly presence.
And did I enjoy my haircut? No. That was a hard job to stand.
Another key aspect of the character is the shotgun he carries, which is notable because of the almost comically large silencer fitted at the end of it.
He has this shotgun with this silencer on it, which is a real unusual weapon, and we had to have that specially made to accommodate the description.
Filming took place during the spring and summer of 2006 in New Mexico and Texas. The Coens worked once again with their favorite cinematographer, Roger Deakins, and almost the entirety of the film was storyboarded beforehand. So precise was their shooting that they only required around 250,000 feet of film to make the movie, whereas typically a normal production will shoot 700,000 feet or more. This before digital video became a mainstay, of course. A collaboration they did not rely on as much as they were accustomed to was the one with composer Carter Burwell. who'd scored all of their movies until the point save for Oh Brother Where Art Thou. There is almost no music present in No Country at all, and what little there is can't easily be discerned. In fact, most of the approximate 16 minutes of music comes during the end credits. The idea of going with a minimalist score was Ethan's, who had to persuade his brother that it fit with the spare, unforgiving landscape they were creating. After premiering at the Cannes Film Festival during the spring of 2007, No Country for Old Men was released in November of that year, going on to become the Coens' highest grossing film at that time. It has since been surpassed by the more accessible western True Grit. While the money was nice, the praise was nicer, with plenty of critics lauding the film's cast and creatives for crafting a modern-day classic. As it barreled toward the winter, it became clear that No Country was becoming an award season frontrunner, winning plenty of critic awards. Bardem completely dominated the Best Supporting Actor category, winning the award practically everywhere he was eligible. When Oscar time came, the film was the favorite to win the big awards, and it did not disappoint.
No Country for Old Men. Scott Rudin, Ethan Coen, and Joel Coen producers.
For Best Screenplay based on material previously produced or published.
Joel Coen and Ethan Coen for No Country for Old Men.
And the Oscar goes to Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men.
Over a decade later, it's deservedly considered one of the best films of the genre. Although what that genre is up to dispute, and that's what makes it a fascinating, thoroughly watchable work of art. Like its main antagonist, it can't easily be categorized or described. Not even a coin toss could properly decide what its true nature is.
Fantastic haircut.
Yeah. Javier loved the haircut.
Let us know your thoughts. Leave a comment in the comments, and thanks for watching.